I'm Erin Holland.
And I'm Darren Palmer, and this is Home of the Century.
Home of the Century is the podcast that makes property feel possible.
Every episode is honest, practical, and filmed in the kind of homes that make you stop and think, hey, I could do that.
Because you can.
Home of the Century, proudly brought to you by Century 21.
Australia and New Zealand's most trusted name in real estate.
There are people who cover culture, and then there are people who are the culture.
Smallzy spent his career in the rooms, at the dinners, on the tours.
Cruising.
Yeah, Smallzy, let's go.
I mean, who hasn't he interviewed at this point? Today, we're taking you to his home in Sydney, and we're talking auctions, interiors, and what it actually takes to get your place ready to sell.
Welcome to Home of the Century.
Darren, I feel like I'm sitting in like Beyonce's living room right now because there are not many people in Australia that are known by one name and one name only. I didn't even know he had a first name. But we are sitting in Smallzy's gorgeous, gorgeous living room at his beautiful house. And Smallzy, thank you so much for joining us.
I've never had an introduction like that before.
That's right. Like,
I only have one. You're right. I have one name.
You have one
I am
name.
Beyonce.
And
I am Kylie.
You are.
I am
Prince.
I'll take Prince.
We
Yeah.
love it. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't remember a time when this man wasn't on the airwaves. I mean, 23 years in the industry. You are absolutely iconic.
It must be such a thrill for you to interview us.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be asked questions, and I will be trying my best not to railroad you and take it over.
No, but please do. It
Yeah,
takes the
okay.
pressure off.
Well, now that you've said, guys, welcome to my house. Thanks for coming.
And what a stunning house it is. Like from the front, you've got beautiful facade, a gorgeous garden. It presents beautifully from the street.
A 10 out of 10. This is such a beautiful house, and you bought it at auction, which is one of the most stressful times, I think, in life when it comes to real estate. And you're very well versed in auctions. You've sold at auction, you bought this beautiful place at auctions. I mean, let's talk real estate. What's been your experience and your property journey?
I feel like the property ladder is pretty much, it is the ladder. You know, like the first property it's not your forever home. I think a lot of people, you know, want to buy their first home as their forever home. And if they don't get that forever home, they're like, oh, well, no house for me then.
Yeah.
No, but my first place was like a 2-bedroom apartment in the city. That was great. Lived there for a couple of years, then upgraded to a terrace, then realised I don't like having a common wall.
Or two.
Yeah. Terrace, townhouse, and then here is how I went.
So how did you know which were the right ones to invest in? Because obviously you made some really astute property purchases. You know, what kind of research and background did you have? Any help? How did you go about navigating it?
What I do for a living, obviously I talk to people, I'm on the radio every day. I kind of feel like I sort of pick up cues of what the market, no matter what the market is, if it's pop culture, if it's music, if it's celebrity, if it's real estate, I kind of am tapped in a little bit to like what is people are vibing. You know, when you're selling, style it for the market and keep it for the market and not have it set the way you would live in it. I don't think you can go wrong.
The investment hat was kind of always on
Always
as well.
on. No, always on.
But also zeitgeist, right?
Yeah.
Like you clearly
Totally.
are right in there. You're able to see the trends and hear the chatter. And I think that's one of the really important things about being at the forefront of a market and selling things to a market is really tapping into those patterns that they will respond to.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's important when you're styling a house for an auction, that it's not your photos and your wedding photo and all the kids' like toys in the corner.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like when we were on like looking for houses, the amount of people who didn't depersonalise the houses, and I was like, did you see the wedding photos up in the bedroom? Like when we sold our place,
What about that dress? I wouldn't have done those shoes.
Like you wouldn't have known whose house you were in when I sold the places that I've taken, because you would depersonalise everything. All the photos came off the wall. Any hooks or whatever where there was photos, that wall was repainted beforehand. It was literally like a blank canvas, so to speak, so that people don't see someone else's house, they see their future.
That's the psychology behind it. It's being able to imprint their own life into the space.
Yeah.
And they can't do that with those friction points of other people's lives on show.
Yep.
So you need to just, one, declutter, two, depersonalise.
Yep.
And then you've got to present it like somebody that is super organised and really clean and tidy has just walked out of the room.
No, totally. There was like a 30-minute like checklist. It was like all this shit went into drawers, this stuff went into cupboards, this vacuum went on, these candles got lit, and then this music went on, and then we walked out the door, and it was like I think even the real estate agent was like, oh, this playlist you've got is great. Can I get this? This is great. I'm like,
shocking
sure.
that you would have a handle on what music was going to get you where you needed to go.
That, by the way, wrecks your Spotify algorithm.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because the songs that play at the Open play every single weekend.
Yeah. Spotify Wrapped would be pretty easy.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a really great opportunity to grab both of your ideas about preparing a place for auction.
You have to treat the house like a show home. You know, like if you're selling, then you have to accept that this is not your house anymore because you want someone else to buy it, which means you have to live like you're in a show home. And so when we were selling our last few places, this sounds crazy, but like the dog bowls would, because we have a dog, she's around here somewhere, but the dog bowls would go away because not everyone wants to live in a house where they know there's a dog.
That makes sense to me.
All that stuff would go, and like we would have like boxes, would go into the boots of the car, and then when we would drive out, because people are going to snoop.
Okay, I was literally waiting for the time to say, they open drawers.
Of course they do.
They open drawers. They open cupboards.
Yes. This sounds crazy, but take half those clothes out of that walk-in wardrobe, because nothing puts a buyer off than seeing someone jam clothes in there like they don't have enough space.
That's it.
Because you walk out of that inspection going, yeah, that wardrobe was really small. It could have been the biggest walk-in wardrobe that you saw that day, but because it was jammed full of clothes, you go, oh, there's no space in there.
One of the hardest things about an auction, like you say, and just putting a house to market as well, is having to live like that for weeks and weeks on end as well. Like you don't live in the house that you actually live in. And
I did it for a year.
Wow.
I've got a teenage son. Yeah. And so on the towel rails in the bathrooms, we had all the perfect decorator towels.
Yep.
And then we used our towels and hung them over the door.
Yep.
And then we'd like put all those and like take them with us when we had to do the open for inspections. Like to the point where you're like the playlist, the candles.
Yeah, what's your secret sauce? What did you put on yours? Did you do the cookies in the oven, make it smell homely?
You can do that. You can drop a couple of drops of vanilla in an oven and it'll just fill the house with a really lovely...
Refrigerator as well. I do that anyway.
Brew some coffee.
Neutralises everything.
Brew some coffee. Of course. That's a good one.
You've got to do every little last thing you can to make someone who walks in there go, oh, I want to live here. This is like dragging me in.
Make sure that when you're looking around, you don't see faults or cracks or peeling paint or anything that looks like it's damaged, because then it gives you a cue to then search for further damage.
Yeah, actually, I do want that building in pest because I saw a crack in that ceiling. Yeah, gotcha. I think the biggest thing that we discuss right throughout this series is just this is the biggest investment emotionally, financially, mentally taxing experience of most people's lives.
Yeah.
And you've chosen to go to auction twice, plus buy this one at auction. In terms of being the one selling the house at auction, what was that like as
I think
as the owner?
Look, I don't know. I'm not a real estate agent, so I can't tell you if this is true or not, but it sort of made sense to me. As a buyer, I kind of hated the whole auction idea.
100%.
Like you really it made me feel anxious, because I think when you see a price, like what price do they want? You know, what's an auction? How much is too much? What am I being ripped off? And what is it going to be? But then I think the real estate agent that we used, it was like the best way you can tell the market that you actually want to sell is at an auction, right? Because like if you put a 4 offers or whatever it might be, the purchaser on the other end goes, oh, I could make an offer, but are they going to accept that offer? An auction tells the market you are committed to selling. And I was like, oh, once I looked at it through that lens, I was like, oh, I get it. Because on that day, the hammer's going to fall, the property sells. Yeah. You're telling the market you are like motivated to sell.
So the difference between the reserve price and the guide price is that the reserve is set by the owners. So it's their decision as to what they wish to set their expectation of value, and that is set in writing. It must be given to the auctioneer before the auction starts. As opposed to the guide is a price that is assessed by the agent, and in different states there are different guidelines are set around that. If you take New South Wales as an example, an agent has got to set a guide which they then have to be able to back up with evidence. That evidence is things like recent comparable sales, other properties that may be on the market that are comparable to the property that you're selling. It could be zoning, it could be a whole range of different things. It could be market conditions like changes in interest rates and things like that that impact that number. But that number is movable, and essentially it's movable based on the feedback that you receive from buyers in the marketplace as well as what's happening around that property.
I did tell my real estate agent when it came to selling my places through auction, get an offer beforehand.
Yes.
I'm not dealing with the stress before the day.
It's stressful.
It really is.
It's so stressful. It's stressful being someone that's buying at an auction. Personally, I've never purchased anything myself at an auction. We've purchased several properties at auction, but I sent a very intimidating, very tall, very impressive friend of mine
To buy for you.
to buy for me.
Yeah, great. I think you have to really check yourself that you don't get too emotionally hooked in the property when you're buying at auction. Because I think if you...
Hand just keeps going up when maybe it shouldn't
I think
as well.
you got to a point where you're like, yep, I've got my money together. It's the biggest thing I'm ever going to purchase. You've gone through all of the pre-approval paperwork. You've had a conveyancer look through you've already spent money to get to the point of being at auction. You've got to be careful you don't get too whipped up in that emotional hook to go, oh, well, I've done it all. I just, what's an extra couple of grand? When it's like, oh, that you could be at the top of your budget.
Yeah.
Walking in there.
Your bank might have a problem with the extra couple of grand, which is the issue with an auction,
that's exactly it, right?
So in terms of when you were the person selling your properties at auction, you wanted some offers beforehand. I think that's also great because it gives you an idea of where the market's at as well, because the agent decided that auction was best for you in order to get the right price. Or how did you decide on the fact that auction was right for those properties as well?
I tend to just take the advice of people who are far more experienced than I am. I feel like just because everyone has a house or lives in a house, suddenly they think they're experts and everything house. I mean, Darren, I'm sure you see it with people renovating or styling. It's like, I live in a house, I know how to style something. And it's like, no, I think there's people who are good at it. You should take their advice at it. Who am I to tell a real estate agent that they think this is the best strategy for the property? If they're the experts, you do your due diligence and you check that they've sold some great properties, they've got some good prices. I took their advice. They were like, this is the easiest way to move it. If you want to sell it, you're telling the market that you're committed to selling, you'll get the best offer on the day. And if you want to sell beforehand, I'll do my best as an agent to rustle up some offers beforehand. And luckily I've been blessed. I sold them both properties through the same agent because they did the great job the first time. And then they'd go, here's the offer. And you're like, this is amazing. Done. Accept it. Let's go.
Look how happy his face is just remembering that.
Oh.
Such a good feeling.
It was such a great feeling because you just never know. You never know.
So they were sold before auction both times?
Yeah.
Didn't even have to go through the stress of it because I think there must be nothing worse. And I see it every season for you when Scotty cams with, the contestants and they're sitting there and you can just see the stress in their faces. And I'm stressed at home as a viewer, let alone being the person who has got to reap the rewards or the deficit of this auction.
I'm right in saying, though, it's you have to have realistic vendor expectations.
100%.
Some people think their house is just worth more than what it is.
It's also the role of the real estate agents to give you a realistic view on what the property's worth. Yeah. And very often when they're pitching for work,
of course,
your house is very, very valuable.
Yep.
And then when it comes to auction, your house might need to have more realistic expectations.
Yeah, totally.
That's why trust's important. That's why you've chosen the same agent twice. That's why if you know somebody and you can trust them.
If you're thinking about selling, have a look what's selling in your area. Find out who's selling the nice properties. Meet them. Pick up the phone and ask to meet the agent because a good agent will be like, sure, when you're free, I'll come over and we can have a chat about it. And then you can get to meet them and then find out what their expectation is. Oh,
the relationship's everything. Choosing the right agent is something that we speak about a lot as well on this show. But you avoided 2 auctions when you were selling.
Dodged them.
However, this beauty that we're sitting in, you had to go through the auction process.
Totally.
What was that like?
Oh, it was so stressful. It was barely any sleep the night before because even though I told you the rule was don't get emotionally hooked, you get emotionally hooked. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, this would be great. It's exactly everything we want. It ticks all the boxes. And then you just have to, hope and pray that you got the deepest pockets on auction day.
Or you're the most intimidating.
Is there a rule? Because like some people go like, don't bid until the very end.
There's that.
But I don't understand. Okay, so you have to explain this to me because I don't understand that strategy because it's like, wouldn't you just come in, not obviously go to your max price, but you've got your budget, right? And hopefully no one is spending more than what they think the house is worth. Otherwise, you're a fool. Find out what the temperature in the room is, and then if someone wants to be there at the very end, it is what it is. Like,
if you are thinking about your bidding strategy, what most buyers will do is refrain from bidding. You'll see them just go absolutely blank. They'll pause and they'll wait and see what everybody else does. That's absolutely the wrong strategy. The best thing that you can do is to actually lead the auction, take control of the auction, and that is to bid first. Get in there early, set the tone. You've got an idea of where the guide price is. You've no doubt done your research and potentially set your 3 buying prices, and you start the auction. And that gives you the basis of, I guess, that leadership position, but also sets the tone for the rest of the auction. The next part of it would be to bid with confidence. Confidence, I've done 30,000 auctions, and I can tell you that confidence has won auctions more than money. So it's critical that you display a level of confidence. And the best way to do that is to always be thinking about what your next bid is going to be when you are the holder of the current bid. So not wait till somebody else is bidding. Think about what your next bid is going to be when you're currently the highest bidder is the best strategy that I could suggest to any buyer.
Did you go yourself?
yeah, I did.
Oh, see, imagine if you're like, oh, Smallzy is here. Oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to compete with that. Like,
I did it myself. It was pretty. I was standing right up against the bench there. I remember where I was when I said it, and then the auctioneer was like right there, and then it was full of people in this lounge room.
Oh my God.
How many bidders?
Like I think maybe 4 bidders, 4 people who put bids in. But then at the very end, after we had signed the 66W, whatever the form is, after you made it, some guy walks in and goes, "Am I here for the auction?" And he looked like money.
Oh,
I was
thank
like,
God.
Holy
You got the time wrong.
We got the time wrong. Wouldn't have got the house otherwise.
That is insane.
Yeah.
But that competitive tension in auctions is what drives the price further beyond what properties are often worth, as you rightly say. So I know there's auction strategies where you come in hot and you blow so many bidders out of the water who've maybe been told by whoever the agent is, they actually want this much just to get them in the door, and then they're immediately blown out of the water. There's that consistent bidding straight after a bid comes that gives the illusion that, oh, this guy can go all day. Like, you're not going to be able to get this property.
The Captain America approach.
Yeah. There's so many different ways to go about it. And, as someone who has bought at auction as well once before, I found it so incredibly stressful as well.
My God.
And you're kind of nudging each other and you're like, are you sure? Like, this is well over like what we kind of, we're expecting. And my husband's very kind of, we're never going to go $1 over what we can afford, but he had an idea of what he wanted going in and just that little bit of margin or
well,
if it gets competitive.
I think when we went in, it was like, well, this is what the bank has given us the conditional approval on. Like, we cannot go over this. It'd be great if we were well under. I mean, of course it'd be great if it was well under. But no, it was literally, I think maybe like $100,000 less than what the bank had given.
You made money.
Yeah.
Phew.
That's because the guy forgot
budget.
the auction time. That's because the guy forgot the auction time. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been my house.
Was the unconditional nature of when you purchase at auction something that threw you? Did you try and make an offer on this before auction day? What was your strategy?
I did make an offer beforehand to try and obviously get it cheaper. I mean, as a buyer, you kind of don't want it to go to auction, right? Like, as a buyer, you want to sort of make it as a conditional offer in the early, in the lead up to the final campaign, because you can try and, cut any competition off at the pass.
Or you hope that it gets passed in. And then you've got a desperate vendor that you can go and negotiate with. That's like the best place to be.
Totally. But then again, I think as a seller, where is the market versus your expectations? I don't know if I probably have my reserve if I was going to sell, and it'd be like, if we don't reach that, I'm not. You can negotiate as much as you want. I'm not selling.
You will find in auctions that some auctioneers will actually use the words, "it's on the market." What that really means, what an auctioneer is trying to say, is to say that the property's reached its reserve and it will be sold on the next bid. It isn't anything that's legislated in any state legislation around the country, so it isn't anything that an auctioneer must do, and some auctioneers do and some auctioneers don't. So at the fall of the hammer, the highest bidder will be the purchaser, and the "it's on the market" comment is really just flagging to the buyers that the next bid will buy the property.
You have the most stunning home now, and as someone who travels the world for their job, you're always away. What does home mean for you now?
No, I think you realise that like there is like no place like home. Look, don't get me wrong. There's lots of exciting places in the world, but there's still something happens when you like land back in Australia and then you walk out of the airport and then the air just seems clearer, the sky is bluer, and then you walk back in the door and you're like, I'm home. And you know, travel the world and see it, but it's good to come back.
Having grass and trees and a pool, having your own space and privacy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that you've got here. It's a pretty special thing to have.
Totally. And I think that was like, you know, back to living in the terrace, having common walls on either side and like living and you know there's someone like literally doing something on the other side of that wall. You just like, you can hear up the stairs. Oh my God. Here, do whatever you want in your house.
Yeah.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. When we moved in, the house was basically brand new. So none of these like hedges and stuff had grown. Like this has all grown since we were here. And now we're like blessed to have complete privacy. It's a bit crazy, like going from the inner city where you'd see your neighbour and you'd have a bit of community, but it was very like you were on your own, but you also saw people. We go weeks without seeing our neighbours in here.
Oh my God, I'd love that so much.
But it's also bad because you're like, I don't know if anything happened I wouldn't know. Because like I drive in the driveway, shut the gate behind me. You can't see the street from in here. I don't know if they're home or not.
Can I tell you? I'll tell you a story. When I moved into my place in Bondi, I had an 85-year-old neighbour at the time, and she'd baked me a cake and brought it over to welcome me. And my husband and I would be like, "Oh, we must pick up an orchid at the shop and bring it over to her and say thank you."
Yeah.
And then I finally saw her in the front yard 2 months later and said, "Oh, thank you so much for the cake." And I said, I really wanted to buy you a present to say thank you. She went, "A card in the letterbox would have been nice."
Welcome to Sydney. Welcome to Sydney.
So that's the sort of neighbour I am, everybody.
Yeah.
Not very friendly.
No, that's Sydney to a T though. That's a perfect response for a Sydney person. Like that is like respect. I think that's kind of why I got out of that inner city bubble. It was always noisy and it was always on and you never had a chance to like decompress for a minute. And like now with a backyard and grass and a pool, it's like...
This place is just beautiful. Before we wrap up though, some free design advice from Darren Palmer sitting over on my left. But the thing, look, as someone who is nowhere near as adept at this world as you.
Do you know, I would like to think that is why people don't like me coming into their house.
Yeah.
Because it makes them nervous and they need to apologise ahead of time. It's my awful personality. Might be one.
Jury's out. Jury's out. So what would we do differently?
Look, I think as long as your home represents how you want to live and how you're comfortable, everything is fine. I love your style. I think it's gorgeous. Really clean and pristine and still has natural elements in it. In terms of trends, I think it's more interesting looking at why. Like the psychology behind trends. I think that's really interesting. Yeah. And I mean, right now, chaotic world, people want to be in touch with tactility, nature. Yeah, right. It's a bit like a throwback to the 70s where there was cork tiles and terracotta and all that stuff, handmade stuff. So this is one of the inputs that we're getting because of a chaotic world, that we want to be cocooned by natural things and things that feel tactile.
All right, interesting.
The thing with trends is they don't happen one after the other consecutively anymore. They sort of stack up. So you can literally point at one and there's 5 happening at any one time.
Because like in my world, obviously like we cover like music and entertainment and there's a big theory that the monoculture is dead. Do you see that happening in like interior design? So in the sense that like, you know, back in the day, you'd walk into a shop and then your cues were all the same no matter which shop you were walking into. But now, not so much, right?
You hit the nail on the head. It's exactly it. Because input in, different input out. all seeing the same things. We don't all have the same opinion of the things we're seeing. So all those inputs are different, therefore all the outputs are different. And all the things that we desire or we need to keep ourselves feeling the way we want to feel at home aren't the same.
Like you would have been in a period of time where all the clients would ask you for the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Now, do you have clients coming to you asking for a range of things?
I see it more from watching other people's work.
Yeah, right.
But the thing that I find fascinating is, why do people like the things they want? Why are they responding to this but not this?
Okay.
And if you look at it from a psychological point of view, you can generally see what's coming.
This is Home of the Century.
Brought to you by Century 21.
Australia and New Zealand's most trusted name in real estate. Just to wrap up on a final note, you've got quite the property portfolio and journey so far. I would like to ask you what's next, even though I can't imagine you want to leave these hallowed halls.
No, it's funny because we've toyed with like some sort of like rural, like Southern Highlands type.
Oh, you really don't like people.
Yeah,
he's going out.
No, I do. We did really like enjoy the idea of not a weekender, but like something that was a bit more bigger land, a bit more property, different sort of style. But then we kind of realised, geez, that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is like, you would go down there for 2 days and spend 1 day every week just tidying the property up. And I was like, yeah, that's, I'll just sit pretty for the time being.
Staff. You need staff. You need groundskeepers.
I need more money.
You need Darren to come design it for you, I think.
I need more money.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Smallzy, thank you so much for
Thanks
your time.
for coming on, guys.
Busiest man in entertainment. We so appreciate your time.
Thanks for being
Love
here.
what you've done with the place.
Thanks for having
I didn't
us.
even offer you a drink. I'm so sorry.
I'm parched. This is Home of the Century.
Proudly brought to you by Century 21.